How to create character concepts using references. Hello, everyone. I am Toadart. Today's lecture is designed for those who find it challenging to create character concepts due to a lack of foundational skills. I believe there is no shortcut to improving drawing skills other than consistent practice. However, trying out various methods to understand their pros and cons and developing your own approach is, in my opinion, the best way to improve. How to improve workflow efficiency. Actively utilize references. Which websites do you often use when referring to references? I mainly use Pinterest and ArtStation. Pinterest, in particular, is an excellent platform for extensive image searches with its convenient pin-saving feature and related image recommendation algorithm. Now, I will show you how to actively use these platforms to create character concepts. When drawing characters, the process usually consists of the stages: keyword collection, compilation, rough approval, sketching, color approval, and revision. Additionally, you first determine keywords to decide what to draw, collect references based on those keywords, and combine or compile the collected materials to create a conceptual image. You combine references, use them to get rough approval, sketch, color, and finalize it. Let me show you this process briefly. For example, this is a dragon knight. So, I found cool references for the dragon. And since it's a knight, I also found references for the character. For the pose, I looked for references for a normal character. I decided on a pose and will use these references to create something. First, I remove the hair and add a dragon head. I'll also add a jaw. Then a tail. Since I want to use a cloud motif as a distinctive feature, I'll make the gauntlets cloud-shaped. I'll add armor and also place the cloud motif on the knee guards. Since it's a dragon knight, I'll also add claws. Then, I refine the simplified design by adding details that match the tail or cloud motifs. Once the sketch is complete, the color scheme is usually somewhat defined. Since you're using finished references, there should already be some colors. You can adjust them slightly to create a unified format. This character is golden for a gold dragon, with black beards and white scales on the belly. I used 4 main colors, including leather tones. Try different variations and choose the one you like best. This is how you can combine references to create a character. This is how to actively use references to quickly get rough approval. Next, let's talk about how to expand the use of references. To expand the use of references, let's start with a concept: a cathedral basement torture chamber. So, I searched for and found references for that background. After finding the background, I looked for references for an executioner concept, specifically one holding a spiked club. Next, I found references for a warden of darkness carrying torture tools, like a scythe shaped like scissors. I also found references for an ironclad prisoner, a massive character being controlled by someone. Then, there's the chain overseer concept, which has a grim reaper-like vibe. I found tall, elongated characters to match this concept. Lastly, I found references for Karta, the King of Torture, a boss monster character. This character acts as a mid-boss, this one as an elite monster, and these ones can be considered minions. Once you've gathered these elements, You can string together the backgrounds you found earlier to create a cohesive dungeon flow. The background was short before, right? By connecting it, you can extend the background. Then you can design the level flow. For example, set the tempo where the nature mage encounters the wardens. Next, establish a tempo where the wardens and executioner appear, about 3 characters in total. After that, add a tempo where the wardens and the ironclad prisoner, an elite monster, appear. They probably wouldn't just appear, they might burst through a wall, for instance. Then the wardens, executioners, and overseer will appear together, launching mid- and long-range attacks. This section requires the player to analyze the monster's attack patterns. Finally, I plan for the boss monster to appear, accompanied by 2 executioners acting as guards in the front lines. So when you find a reference like this, you can place it in the dungeon and try leveling it in this way. The advantage of this approach is that, since it's challenging for one person to draw everything for a game, it's often a team effort involving multiple artists, and this method is highly useful in such cases. What this means is that, since everyone has different ideas and preferences, you use visualizations to align the direction of the game. By visually presenting concepts like the warden, the executioner, the ironclad prisoner, the chain overseer, and the boss carta, you can show the team the types of monsters, their arrangement, and their overall concept. This helps solidify the understanding among team members. This allows the team to determine what to do within the framework, leading artists to think about how to express it, ultimately focusing and sharpening the direction of the project. For characters like the warden, which appear multiple times, I made slight changes to their poses. This pose is often referred to as an idle, meaning the default action a character or monster performs when no input is given. For example, it could be standing still or making slight movements while waiting, such as breathing, turning its head, or having its clothes and hair sway gently. Idle poses can be used to reflect the character's personality and backstory for distinctive characters or monsters. For example, this character feels a bit free-spirited, like it might jump around erratically. The same monster could also feel a bit clumsy, like it's dozing off right now. If all the idle poses were identical, the screen would appear monotonous. 4 frequently appearing monsters, providing 2 to 3 variations in their idle poses, can make the game feel more dynamic. Now let's take the character we designed earlier and go a step further by working on variations. For variations, we'll set them as gold, silver, and bronze for visual clarity. If this line represents bronze, then consider this one as silver. For the warden, I changed the distinctive head to resemble a bird's beak and lengthened the short cloak-like outfit to create a wing-like silhouette. Since most monsters were barely dressed, I added more accessories and silver shoulder armor to the spiked club executioner for variation. For the ironclad prisoner, since it's an elite monster, I paid extra attention to its details. I added aggressive-looking details to its helmet and shoulder armor to fill its silhouette and included shackle-like bracelets, typical for prisoners. Since the monster controlling the ironclad prisoner was too small, I gave it full body armor to enhance its defense. For the overseer, I added disheveled hair to alter the silhouette and a coat-like garment that would sway stylishly during idle poses. I added bits of armor here and there to increase its defense. For the boss monster, Carta, the king of torture, I added bat-like wings to make it look otherworldly and distinctly different in silhouette. I added flowing fur under the helmet, blurring the line between hair and beard, so it could sway during idle poses. In 3D, the reflective shine of metal is beautiful and detailed, but adding fabric or fur that moves enhances the character's personality, so I utilized it as much as possible. I placed the shoulder armor over the cape to highlight the difference in defense compared to the bronze line. This way, the second line was leveled with a silver theme. The third variation is the gold line. In a professional setting, I would take the silver line further by enhancing the gold line with improved visuals and additional parts. However, since I had to prepare other materials for this lecture, I only changed the colors for the gold line. I appreciate your understanding. Whether for dungeons, monsters, or character variations, I showed how to use and expand references to provide a guide for team projects. The advantages include faster workflows, maintaining direction in team projects, and efficient planning. The disadvantages are creative limitations and the risk of overusing references. Today, we discussed how to use references to create character concepts. When using references, you must always be cautious due to copyright issues. Using them as reference materials for non-commercial purposes is generally fine. However, directly using original images as they are is, of course, not allowed when utilizing references. You need to create secondary works by making roughs using the method I've shared. The key is to use references while establishing core keywords to ensure the character's identity remains intact. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and set notifications. This has been Toadart. Thank you.